Welcome everybody to today's webinar, Cut Time 101. Thrilled to have you here. Can't believe it is October already. We're going to get started in just a second. I saw the registration that we had. We had a number of folks that were representing kind of all genre. We had choral directors, band directors, orchestra directors. I think we saw some booster officers and even some music supervisors. So we're glad that you are with us. All right, so my name is Scott McCormick. I serve as the Senior Manager of Educational and Business Development here at J.W. Pepper, founder and president of the Association of Music Parents, and for many years served as the president and CEO of Music for All and Bands of America. On top of that, through my history of music education, I've had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers and parents. I was a parent myself. I am a parent myself, but my wife and I had a high school student that was involved in music all the way through her high school years. My wife served as a booster officer and both as a vice president and president of the organization. So I feel like I'm kind of well equipped to talk about the subject on all fronts. So a couple of logistics before we get started. First of all, we are recording this event as we do with all of the webinars, and I have a couple of my colleagues that will be monitoring questions throughout, both Elizabeth and Dave that are with us online. So I would encourage you to ask questions throughout, and there is a box here on the right that you would have the ability to see and ask your questions. They'll be able to see and monitor. They'll be able to answer those throughout, but we'll also have some time at the end of the session to do some question and answer at that time. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And so, sorry about that. When we think about what is Cut Time, we think about it as an online tool that allows us basically to manage and communicate with all of our people. So our students, our parents are in that mix, literally all of the people that are associated with our organizations. It really takes a village to run today's music programs. And then we talk about managing all of our events. So our calendar, our volunteer functions, so that our students are able to get out and do the performances that we are training them for. And then literally it is an opportunity through Cut Time to manage all of our stuff. So that could be everything from our inventory to our music library and our attire and uniforms. So I'm going to go ahead and advance. This next slide that you're looking at is kind of the landing page of Cut Time. So you're looking at the teacher admin dashboard. So Cut Time is an online group management tool developed really to pull all the items that we're dealing with in multiple places and programs into one easy cloud-based tool. So whether you are using maybe Google for a database or something similar to that, you might use any of the email programs like MailChimp or iContact. There's lots of them out there. You might use Remind for texting. I know lots of folks use Excel sheets and Google Sheets to manage our inventory and lots of things in our programs, as well as some of you may have cloud storage like a Dropbox or something like that. All of that we just described and more can be accomplished from this one cloud-based solution that we call Cut Time. I'm going to switch screens over to the live version of our website. So you should now see a similar page, but I'm logged into my demo account called Everytown High School Music Program. This is, again, the dashboard that would be logged into as an admin or a teacher. And when I say admin, it could be a teacher. You might have booster officers who you're going to give admin rights to. So again, depending on how you want to permission this out, and I'll show you how that works, this is what an admin would look like. The student and parent view is somewhat different, and we'll show you that here in a little bit. But this is what you would see as you log in each day. Across the top are the functions. So our people, this is where we manage all of our members, our groups and ensembles. We can look at and manage our parents. volunteers, donors. We even have the ability to print barcodes for our people. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into inventory. The next tab over is communications. In Cut Time, we are able to email and text and have a news feature out of the program to our members. I did mention this is cloud-based, so everything that I am literally doing from my computer on this broadcast, I can do from a smart device, whether that's a smartphone or a tablet. Our software is built from literally a smart device up rather than from a computer down. So it is totally responsive and able to be done from your phone and tablet as well. We'll get into the details of that in a bit. You can manage your calendar and our volunteer opportunities. We'll talk about that, the calendar functions here. I'm going to go through each of these in a bit more detail, but want to just kind of go across the top, all of the functions. Financials, we can manage all of the obligations that are owed to us as an organization. Inventory, again, we divide that into 3 buckets: our music library, our attire, and our instruments. We have a portal for assignments where we can manage assignments for our students through this portal, and then files and docs, which is basically cloud storage. I'm going to go back into the main dashboard and scroll down. This is my login as a teacher. Here, first thing I see is members. These would be people who self-registered. We're going to talk about how to get people in our database here in a second, but this would be a student who self-registered who is there to approve or decline. Likewise, volunteers have the ability to step up and say, I'm interested in volunteering for opportunities that we have out there. I see any inventory repair requests that are made. So the students who might have student or school-owned instruments have the ability to submit a repair request, and when they do, that would show up on the teachers or admin's dashboard. News, when we go switch and look at a student and parent portal, this is the first thing they see. When we get into the communications tab, we'll talk about how we populate the news section. Assignments, this would show me that I've assigned things out to students, and it would return for me anybody who has submitted an assignment that is there for me to review and grade. RSVP for events in our calendar functioning, we'll touch on this. You have the ability to actually request people to RSVP for certain events, so you can know if they're attending or not attending. This is a snapshot of financial obligations. So these are my obligations, but we'll look at it again from a student parent side. This shows any obligations that are outstanding and any payments that would be made and the current balance that's out there. I have a test fee in here, so we'll show you what that looks like here in a bit. Required forms, we can manage forms that we would distribute out, whether that's permission slips or background checks for parents or things that would require students to fill documents out and send them back. This would show us forms that were coming back. And then we get into the contact and demographic information. As you look here, name, first name, last name, nickname, a username is created, date of birth. If you track student ID, you can do that in here as well. Your grade level for your students. If you store locker and combination information, folders, if you assign those, you can track private teacher information. We'll talk about barcoding here in a little bit when we get into inventory, but the system generates a barcode for each individual, whether that's a student, a parent, or an admin. So there's a barcode in the system for each person. Gender, email, physical address, phone numbers, and the like. The next section is program participation, where you will see a history of our students' participation. So over time, this list will grow, as it will for us as teachers, where we can monitor what ensembles we were a part of and see what ensembles each student was a part of over their career. There's a place to store photographs. And then at the very bottom, we have a place for emergency medical contact information, relationships, so we can keep track of parents or guardians. If there's siblings in the program, we can track uniform sizes. Each person has the ability to manage and change their password if they would like to do that. I talked a little bit about permissions, and when I click this open, I have this tab available to me because I am an admin. Parents and students won't have this tab at the bottom, but this allows me to permission out admin rights at different levels. So Right now, I'm checked as a district administrator, so I'm assuming here that we have multiple schools in our system, and I am the district administrator, and I can go into each. I'll show you what that looks like. I also have full admin rights to this program, so this would be what teachers, assistant directors, if you have booster officers, maybe a booster president or officers that you want to give full admin rights to. If you have somebody that just handles communications like email and text, you could give them rights to communications, and all the way down to, managing all of the various inventory factions. So you might even have a student that's going to come in and work on your music library for a class period where you could turn on permissions for them to be an administrator in the library and do work, and then turn it off when that class period's over. So again, totally permissionable at every person's level. Inventory assigned would show any instruments or attire that have been assigned out to each individual, and then a section for notes. All right, we're going to scroll back up to the top and jump back into our People tab. There are 3 ways basically to get people into our system. I'm going to open the Members tab, and you'll see a search bar, as well as 117 members that are in my 2018-19 ensemble. I will point out this bar that I'm hovering over and pulling to the drop-down menu. One of the unique parts of QuTime that differentiates us from some of the other programs out there is that we literally can be in any year at any time. So if I wanted to jump back and see what my ensembles look like and my membership look like in 2017-18, I could do that. Or as we get a little bit further into the school year and say we're in the spring semester and we start to get lists of people who are going to be in next year's ensembles or classes, we could actually go into 19-20 and start to build those classes and ensembles and communicate to them as such. So again, total flexibility. The year-end process is pretty easy in terms of what we do. So I see an alphabetical list of all of the students in my program here. I could click in to any of them and see their particulars. So I'm going to just jump into John here. So as I told you, their dashboard is a little bit different. So the first thing they see is news. The second thing they would see is any assignments that they have out there to do, any RSVPs that we've asked them to respond to, and then they see a clean snapshot of their financial obligations. We can send statements to them. They can make a payment online with a credit or debit card. I'll show you how we connect to those payment processors. Required forms, and then basically all of the same things down at the bottom. I'm going to jump back in to my search list. I do want to show you kind of a sneak peek. Actually, I got ahead of myself. 3 ways that we can get people in. So we can add people individually, clicking this add person. So this might be applicable if we have somebody that moves into our school and we want to add a person at a time. I wouldn't suggest this would be the way to do it in mass, but there is a way to add individual people. You can import people, and we currently have an importer built into the system where you could bring class lists in. So let's just say I'm going to want to bring in my concert choir that's a class, and I hit next, and it gives me a downloadable template that has 5 fields. I really encourage people to use this importer once we have the masses in. This is really for bringing in smaller groups like class lists. We have more robust importers, and that's really the way I would suggest that you get folks in, is that we'll talk about how our customer service team allows you to, we have templates that we can give to you for people and inventory, and if you can get your information into CSV files, our team will bring them into QuTime at no cost through imports, a more robust importer. Those importers actually will be made available to our users here in the coming months, but we are working through, as it's a relatively new program, all of the things that before we turn over the keys to be able to bring importers in on a larger scale. I do want to show you that when I went into people, one of the unique things that we have, I'm going to jump into tools real quick and go into this tab or button called custom fields. So in our profile, we have the ability, if you have items in those people in your demographics that you want to track that are different from our standard fields, you have the ability to create 5 custom fields that could be whatever it is that you want to track. It could be anything from food allergies or things like that. Student, parent, staff, click those on so that each of those people would be able to see those in their profile. So custom fields is one of our new additions. I wanted to be able to show that to you. And then one of the other things I wanted to show you is this is still in development that we hope to launch here in the next week or two, but we have built an entirely new parent portal. So I'm jumping over to our development site. So this is what a parent would look like when they logged in. So you can see across the top, they can see calendar, volunteer opportunities, any financial information, assignments and files and docs. They get a clean snapshot of any news that's posted for them. They can see their children, whether it's one or multiple siblings that they have in a group. They have the ability to add a student if they have a student that's coming into the program. You can see a snapshot of financial obligations, and you can open full details, and that would then return the full details on each of the siblings that are in the program. Any volunteer opportunities that are out there for the next 30 days, RSVPs that need to be sent in, or any required forms. So again, we tried to clean that portal for parents in a way to deal with the things that really are applicable to them. The next thing we're going to talk about is communications. So when I open the communications tab, you see send email or text. There's a news button and then a message archive. So I'm going to open the send email text. You will see that each of the screens that we go to, very similar functionality at the top in terms of sorting capabilities. Going from top to bottom, we can send an email or a text message. That's a simple toggle between the two of those, which changes the bottom portion of our screen. But if we're going to start with an email, I can select the group that I want to send to. I can include the parents of that selected ensemble, or I can send to all of our staff or cut time administrators, or if I wanted to send to student leaders. Again, you could get pretty granular with what those search capabilities are and how you would deliver communications. But the layout for our communications email and text is very similar to other portals. You have the ability to copy people, blind copy people. If you have school administrators that you need to blind copy on communications, you have the ability to do this. Subject line, you can choose a file attachment of any size to add to your email, and then you can customize your message, the ability to put links in, photographs, and then all of the tabs and different kind of fonts, bold, italic, underline, that you can do. Once your message is in, you can preview it, see who it is that you've chosen to select. If it's correct, then you hit go ahead and send. Likewise, in the text functionality, I click on it, I have the same choices at the top, and again, I have my message. We are limited to 500 characters, which is a huge text, so you have the ability to do a pretty good size text. I will show you here, we also have a message archive. So if I want to year over year see what's happened, I'm going to jump back a little bit into last school year, and I'm going to run that search, and it's going to show me all of those communications that went out on various days. So if we get to October and I need to go, what did we send out in October of last year, I could go look at those messages and replicate those for future years. So a great way of tracking communications that you've sent over time. I'm going to jump back into a real world situation and create a text. But I'm going to do that because I've kind of pre-populated that over in my PowerPoint. So let me jump back there real quick and advance our screen. So what you're looking at now is a snapshot of my smart device. Again, I said that everything that we can do on the computer, we can also do from a smart device. So this is a look at that. In a real world situation, we might have an ensemble that's out at a large group event, and that event is running late. Like, that's never happened to any of us as educators, right? But we have parents that are told that their kids are going to be back at a certain time, but we know the buses are going to be returning late. So let's just show how this process works. I have a little video that I'm going to play here. And I think I'm going to play it. There we go. I open the portal, and I'm going to go in up at the top here, and you're going to see me click on the tab here. I'm going to go down into communications, send text email. I'm going to select the group that I'm going to send that to. So in this case, we're going to choose our concert band, and we're going to send it to the parents or guardians of that concert band. And then we're going to go down into the message and start to type. So I'm not going to make you watch all of this, but I think I can zip forward a little bit. Maybe not. We'll just let it go here. Meantime, I'm going to switch and let this play on the right side as well. This is what it looks like on the receiving end. So let's go ahead and hit play on that. You saw the text flashes in. There's the text. Our event is run late. The buses will not return to school until 11 p.m. Please pick up your children or student at that time. Thanks for understanding, and it's from myself. So a real world situation that I'm sure we've all had to deal with, but a great way that we can use the software to its benefit. All right, I'm gonna jump back into our live version here again so we can continue down the path. All right, so I do want to show you the news section. Actually, I should have done that in, here we are, the news section here. So here's where we can put news and notices. So you saw when I went to the parents portal, the first thing they saw, and it's the same for students, are any news or notices. So I can literally add a notice for this school year, the subject, what ensembles do I want to have it show up for? I would type the content. I can click a start date and end date by which I want that to be seen on their portals, and then I hit post. So this would be good for concert announcements or special rehearsals, or a way to engage our parents with a concert or performance that happened last night and showing some pictures, just a way to keep folks engaged. So another communications tool that would help you a great deal, I'm sure. All right, we are going to jump into the calendar functionality at this point. Our calendar looks and feels very much like a Google Calendar. It's modeled after that. You can see there's a month view, a week view, and a day view. So we can get a little bit cleaner picture of what those look like. And the day view returns even a more granular side of things. On the smart device, we default to the day view, but you're able to see week and month. We also have a list view that you can print out with a date search. This comes in handy for parents. So if I have a student that's just in the marching band and concert band, and that's the only calendars that I want to see, I can sort on or filter on that group. I can sort on a set of dates, and then it's just going to return those items that are applicable to me, and I don't have to see all of the calendar functionality. It also works for you as educators if you wanted to see specifics of a particular group's set of events or schedules. I'm going to jump back into a previous month where I have a little bit more information in here. Again, this tool is geared at all genre, band, orchestra, and choir. In this case, I have a lot of band-centric things in here, but you could put yourself in this role, and I've done webinars where it's choral-based or orchestra-based. Same functionality, just different words that we use. When we look at our calendar, I'll zoom in just a little bit here. And you can see these heads next to this listing, which would indicate to a parent that we have volunteer opportunities for a particular event. I also have color-coded things. So let me just show you how we add an event. It's as simple as clicking add an event. We would create an event name, a date. We have the ability to create recurring events. So this could be daily, weekly, monthly, whatever the case may be. If you have a recurring rehearsal that might be after school, you could put those kind of things in. You also have the ability to color code things. You saw some of that on the presentation, but what I would suggest to teachers and admins is that you actually create your own legend and start to educate your parents and students that, in this case, red might be marching band and purple might be parent related. Again, you can get however you want to create that legend that people start, there's visual learners like myself that start to look that way. You have the ability to assign calendar listing to a particular group. And I'm going to just show you this here. You're going to see a whole bunch of different kind of things, everything from band and orchestra and choir. The system CutTime comes out of the box pre-populated with pretty much all of the ensembles that would be typical in a band, orchestra, choir setting. I will show you how, but you can customize that to be more in line with your genre. So if you're a choir director and you don't want to see all of the band and orchestra stuff, you can customize it so that your feed would only show your choral related ensembles, and that would work the same for any other ensemble. So you can create an event by ensemble, or all ensembles is how it defaults. Here's the place where you would add or manage ensembles. So where I was talking about customizing, this will open in the tools section. I'll show you that at the end of how you would customize things. In your calendar, you have types that we've pre-populated. You can, again, change this to be whatever is applicable to your situation. And then as we go down a little bit further, you put a location and an address. Once that address is saved, what that does is it allows it to link to Google Maps. So if I'm a parent and we're going to an event and we have an address plugged in and I pull out my smartphone, I can literally click the map button and it's going to open my Google Maps and map me to that location. So another great functionality for the users. Again, I would encourage you to put as much detail if there's a cost associated with it, a contact name, contact phone number. If there's a URL, a web address that you want to put, you can put a description in, which is the more information you can give your parents and students about an event, the less questions that come. So be as detailed as you would like in the description. Here's that place where we talked about RSVP. So I would click this box and say I wanted to get a return on a certain date. And then you have a place to click volunteers. So this would allow you to add volunteers for a particular event. I'm not going to add an event. I'm actually going to go into an existing event that we have. So you can see I've added addresses and things like that. I can also then create details. I can send invitations out, so I can manage event invitations from here. I can even go create a schedule hour by hour for a particular event. So if we have an all-day rehearsal, we can give that information to our kids. I can put links in, maps, recurring items. So this is also where we manage our volunteers. So I'm going to go ahead and click over to volunteers, and I'm going to open all of the volunteer opportunities. So these are all of the opportunities that I've created. You saw those little heads. These would indicate these are for events that are either recently or in the near future. Here's one that's coming up, surplus sale. I can filter my volunteer opportunities by event. So here's the surplus sale we have coming up on October 10th, and here's 2 registration tables that nobody has been assigned to. I can add more volunteer opportunities in here. And once these opportunities are created, when I'll jump back over and show you on the parent side, when they would go into this volunteer tab, it would then populate in here. Because these 2 things, this is our development site, are not linked to my live site. That's why those things are not showing up, but that's how parents would be able to volunteer. Once they suggested or said they were interested, I'll go back to the main dashboard. Then you're going to get a message on your dashboard that says somebody has stepped up for one of those positions, and then you have the right or ability to approve or decline that person. The reason we built in the approve and decline is that there may be some volunteer opportunities like a chaperone position that requires background checks and things that the school requires, and you may have a parent who's volunteered who hasn't done all of those things. So you certainly don't want to approve them and break some rules on that front, or you may just have somebody step up in a position that's not the right position for them. So we have a soft email response when you decline, and allows them to stay engaged and hopefully volunteer for future events as well. So that's kind of the overview of calendar. We're going to continue on into financials. So in financials, we are in our financial program able to manage all of our financial obligations and track those obligations. So right now you're looking at my 2018-19 school year, which just started. Here are the 23 people who have obligations that have been assigned to them. So the total obligations, any payments or credits that have gone against their account, and then their total amount due. I can jump in at any point and look at the details for that particular, here's Rita Boxenson's account. Here are the obligations that have been assigned to her, when they were due, the amounts due, any amounts paid, what the balances are. As an admin, you have the ability to adjust any of those things. So this would come into play if you might have students that are on free and reduced lunch, or you're making an adjustment for some other reason. You can actually adjust their amount owed down at the admin level. And then any payments or credits, this is showing what they have paid and when they've paid them and how they paid them. So again, a very clean view of what it is that they owe. You can email statements out one at a time. I'm in this person's record. I'm also going to show you how you can send bulk financial statements out here in a second. Adding an obligation. I'm going to click on obligations. This is the total list of all of our obligations. Adding an obligation is as easy as clicking on this button. I'm going to create a spring trip for 2018-19, and that's going to have a $500 fee associated with it. That due date is a couple of months out. We're going to say that January 15th is the due date for the spring trip money. You could actually create multiple payments. So if it was $100 due in 1 month, you'd create an obligation for that and so on. Here's the due date. I would put any notes that I would want to let the students and parents know. Once I click save, that spring trip has now been created, and I can go back into that spring trip. I'm going to switch into this current school year. So I'm going to pull down to that spring trip that I just created, and I'm going to go to update. And now it's open this button, you'll see that says people required to pay this obligation. When I click on that, it's going to open another tab. And so I can actually do this by all people. I can do this by students or parents. So in this case, I'm going to make it students, and it's just our concert band that's going on this trip. And I'm going to filter my group. And what that does now is filters the people in this list to be my 2018-19 concert band. I can select all, which was going to put a checkbox here, or I can individually add students. I'm going to go ahead for purposes now of selecting all. When I do that, you'll see this checkbox has come. When I get down to the bottom, I hit add people, and it's going to move all of those people from the left side now into this people required to pay this obligation. It has just taken that $500 trip fee, created an obligation for each of these people. If I were to open one of these, you'd see that that's there. It has also sent each of these people an email saying a new financial obligation has been assigned to you. So a great way to track that. I'll just open Larry's account real quick and show you that here is that spring trip 2018 that we've just assigned, $500 amount. He's not made any payments. So that easy to assign. I will now show you how we receive payments. So let's say a due date has come for a particular financial obligation that's out there. I'm going to just open this spring trip to New York. When I open that, it's going to default and show me all of those people that trip has been, or that obligation has been assigned to. I can go into their individual ledgers if I want, but this is an easy way that if your treasurer or you get a stack of checks or payments, you can go in and say, today's the date we received those. We can set a default amount, and let's just say that everybody paid the full amount, even though we know they didn't. What that did now is put this amount here. I can go in and make the changes to those who only made amounts that were different than that. So it's as easy as clicking on and making those changes. I can put reference numbers, like if I wanted to put check numbers in here. So this was a check and it was check number 1234. It's going to keep track of all of those things. Once I have all of that entered, I would hit save payment information, and it's going to take that credit amount and put it towards that obligation in each of those students' records. The last thing I want to show you in financials is the ability to send statements. So this is a brand new feature that we've added, something that's been requested a great deal that we rolled out just recently. But now I have the ability, whether this is a monthly statement that we want to send out, or we want to send out statements to those people who have balances overdue. So I'm getting a full list of all of the financial obligations out there. I can select all. That would send statements to everybody. I can select all with balances due. We may have some students who have paid everything off. They owe nothing. There's no reason to bother them with another email reminder. So we could select with balances due, or we can select all balances or past due balances. So these are people who might owe a little bit more. So I'm going to select all with past due balances, and you'll see now this message box shows up. And so there's an email that'll be sent, and you can kind of customize this to say, hey, it looks like you're behind in your payments. Please contact us if there's any problems. But you can really create that message however you want. Once you've done that, you see the people who are checked that have past due balances. Yes, those others do not, so they're not checked. And then I would then click send, and it would send that statement. You can see that it sends default, it's checked to students and parents. If you had something that was just going to the students, you'd have the ability to click that. I'm not sure how many of those would be applicable, but students and parents is the default method for sending bulk financial statements out. All right, moving right along, we're going to go into inventory. And you'll see on this inventory tab that we have really broken inventory into 3 buckets: music library, attire or uniforms, and instruments. I'm going to go ahead and open music library first. Hang with me a second. And as you see, what happens again is another search box that pulls up. It's also going to underneath give me all of the music library that is in my music library database that has already been put in. I can sort on any of these functions. So if I'm looking for a piece that's a particular title that I know, or a composer, I can type that in. If I wanted to see all of the music that I have that is, concert or band related, or any of those things that we've broken out from a category perspective, I can search on voice. So if I'm going to just say, I'm going to do choir and I want to see all of my SATB, you can see once I selected choir, it defaulted to things that were applicable to choir. Likewise, if I would have picked band, my default is going to give me things that are related to band as well. So again, category or voice and instrument are tied to category. Let's go back. I'm going to go into band and to concert band, and we're going to hit search, and it's going to deliver all of the pieces that I have for concert band. Not many in this section, but let's look at this a little bit more. You'll see this blue button off to the side, which literally when I click on is going to open another tab, and it's actually going to open a tab in the JW Pepper site, and it's going to take me to that piece of music that is from my library. On the Pepper site, there are audio recordings of many of these things. There are scores that you can view. If you were going to festival and needed to order additional scores, here's another way to do that. But kind of a great opportunity. This is something you could actually assign to your kids to go listen to recordings as well. I'm going to open that particular item though. Again, so this is what it looks like in that item. We have the title, composer, arranger, category, voice, publisher. Again, all of these things are customizable through these green buttons. We have most of the publishers, standard publishers that are out there in here. You can put a grade level in here, the publisher ID. You'll see now we're going to talk a little bit about existing and system barcodes. I'm going to show you this on the instrument side. It's a little bit easier for me to demonstrate. So you'll see an existing barcode, which might be things that you have already on that you're using barcode wise. And then the system barcode is the cut time barcode that's created once that piece or piece of inventory is loaded into the system. You can put a description, keep track of performance notes or dates when you purchased it, and then hit save to update it. Let's jump over into instruments, and I'll show you how the barcode functionality works. A couple of different things you see up here, barcode options. There's an option to manually check in and check out things. So if you have school-owned instruments that are going to be checked out to students, you can do that here, but we also have the ability to scan those in and out. And I'm going to show you a video here in a second of how that works. But again, I can select inventory. Here are all of my instruments. You can see that some of these instruments have been assigned to students. If I open John's account, you would see that this baritone is in his inventory side of things. I have the ability to return them manually, or again, we'll show you the scanning functionality. I'm going to just open this particular baritone. So I'm going to open and update that information. So here you see the instrument. It's a brass instrument. It's a marching baritone. The manufacturer was Yamaha. It's checked out. We talked about it. You saw the checked out to a student. Here's its model number, its case number. It didn't have an existing barcode, so we created a system barcode. But let's just assume that your instruments are barcoded already. We could either upload those in, or you could scan the existing barcode in, and once it's in and we hit save, these two barcodes become linked. So it becomes whichever barcode you were to scan works. Those two things are linked and locked. So there's no reason to print new barcode for scanners out unless you want to. So if you have existing barcodes from another system, or your school district has everything that's owned barcoded, you can use those as it is. Keep track of purchase date, purchase price, serial number, retirement date, and then again here you can see it's assigned to. And here's a repair history on that instrument. So again, the students have the ability to request repair history. I can add repair information, and it's going to keep a log of every repair that's been made. So over time, this becomes very helpful when instruments need to be retired and you need to show administrators what we spent maybe on repairs over the last number of years, and how it might be more beneficial to buy a new instrument than to continue to spend money on repairs. Let me jump over. I'm going to switch and show you how our new check-in, check-out process works. I'm going to do that on a video, but I'm going to switch over to the attire functionality. This video is going to actually show how we do this with uniforms. I'm going to just show you quickly, though, how we can show or do the same kind of search capability. I'm going to search on marching band, and I want to see all of the drum major jackets that are there. And I run search, and my 72 items just became 5 items, and there's those jackets. Let me go ahead and run the video and show you how our barcode scanning works. So stand by for just a second, and we'll let that roll. Okay, we are now going to demonstrate the process of actually checking out inventory. We're going to use attire as our example, but you'll see the barcode situation would work for attire or instruments or any other items that you have barcoded. We're going to go into our mobile application. I want to demonstrate it on mobile using a barcode reader. So I go into my application. I'm going to click on the menu and go into inventory. And there's this item, scan barcodes. I'm going to open scan barcode, and you're going to see a screen that shows a barcode scan location and an inventory management. So attire checkout, check in, instrument checkout, check in. I'm going to click check out, and it is going to allow me another screen where I'm going to scan the barcode, and then I'm going to open the jacket and take my barcode reader. I'm using a wireless scanner connected via Bluetooth. Scan that jacket, and that is going to then return that item on the screen. And then there is a waiting person scan. So I'm going to again go to my barcode reader, and I'm going to take the student ID, and we're going to just use this as an example of a lanyard you might have for kids, or that might be on their student ID. It's barcoded with their student, and I am going to scan that. Once we scan the barcode in and submit, it is now going to show that that item is checked out to this student. So this is what the screen looks like on there. We are going to confirm, yes, check out to Bill Abbott. And we get one more screen that allows us to add details to this. And in that details, we can put condition when assigned. So we're going to select it's in excellent condition. We could also put some assignment notes in there if we want. We hit save, and now you're done with that checkout. All right, I think we're back. That actually is a little video clip from a webinar that we did a couple of weeks ago, or even just this past week, that really goes into detail about how our barcodes and scanning works. It actually shows you what kind of scanners are capable. When we get down towards the end of this, we actually have a YouTube channel that stores all of our webinars and training materials. You can actually access that video if you want to go into a little bit more depth about how all of that works. So that's a quick overview of inventory. We are now going to jump into the assignments tab. Assignments is literally what it says. You have the ability to make assignments out to your students. Again, we're in this school year. These are assignments that I've already created for students and assigned. Adding an assignment is as easy as clicking on this button, creating an assignment title, a description, the date it's assigned, due date. We're in this calendar or this school year. I have the option to create a lot of different assignment types. It could be read, watch, listen, record audio, record video. You put the details about the assignment in here and then instructions. And once that's saved, I'm actually going to go into one of these existing so I can show you what happens when it's saved. So here's that movement 3 sign off, record measures 24 through 48, practice and play and record, record audio. And then instructions, please start slow using metronome, gradually increase. Again, this assign to button, which is very similar to communications and financials, is the same for assignments. So I go to assign by student, and these are the people that it's been assigned to. I can select all and add additional people to that. And if I were to go into this student, I'd be able to see that that assignment is there. Once that student logs in, they actually have the ability to see the details of that assignment, and then they have an upload capability. We have not built in a recording studio into QuttTime, basically because every smart device and computer today has the ability to record both audio and video in high quality. The students have the ability to do that, take that MP3 or MP4, upload it into that portal, and then it shows up on your side of things to grade. That's a quick view of that. I will tell you that we do have a soft integration with Music First. So any Music First customers out there, you actually can use your Music First side of things for assignments. It will then link over to QuttTime and store the details about those assignments in QuttTime. There's more information about Music First on the JW Pepper site, and you can actually run a free trial for Music First if you're interested in doing that. The last section here I want to show you is files and docs. Basically, this is free cloud storage. You'll see we use drawers and folders. So what you're seeing down below are the drawers that I've created. When I open a drawer, these are the folders within that drawer. And when I open a folder, these are the items within that folder. You have no limit to the amount of drawers you create or folders or items. The items can be literally PDFs, they can be audio files, they can be video files. If you wanted to store auditions of every student, you'd have the ability to do that. We have no limits on the storage size in QuttTime, so another huge benefit. I've seen groups use this to, keep track of parent and booster documents and create maybe a drawer just for booster officers where they can keep track of minutes and the like. Again, total freedom in how you want to set those things up on your end. Adding an item, again, is as simple as creating the button. We ask that you respect copyright laws, obviously. Enter the title, description, what drawer you're going to put it in, what file you're going to put it in, choose your file to upload, and hit save. That easy. And this last tab, tools, you've seen me hit this a couple of times. This is where we do on the right side, all of the configurations and setup. When I click into my setup, this is where I'm going to make sure I have my organization name correct. It's going to associate my school with a district. So those two things are in there. It's going to show my subscription date, our physical address. This is an important address to have in here. So you would want to complete this. You're going to set your time zone so that your calendar defaults to that time zone, a telephone number. If your group had a website, you would put it in here, what do you want your email invoice address to be when those invoices come out. And then this again is an important school year start. So this is a month and a day. It defaults to July 1st, but what we have found is a number of programs want to start their school year as soon as the next, or the one that they're in ends. So some people have moved this to June 1, July 1. What this does is it changes the toggle date. So I'm going to go back into communications here. I'm in the 2018-19 school year. Once I get to the start date, it's going to change this to the next 19-20. So again, that's kind of up to you where you want to have that default year start. Payment processor. So we have the ability to add payment processors so you can accept credit card payments. So we go in here, AffiniPay is one of our options. If you have a PayPal ProFlow, we are adding other things like Authorize.net, Stripe, Square. So all of those things will be capable to connect to it so your parents are able to make payments online. Again, configurations on the right. At the bottom, there's an ability here to promote at the end of the year. So this is where we move our students from one school year to the next and move them up a grade so that at the end of the year, that's a process. We have a video on year-end process that goes through that in a bit more detail. You have the ability to store a data backup of everything in QuTime on your own devices. So if you wanted to back up all of your data to a hard drive, you have the ability to do that at any time. Our servers are backed up daily in multiple places, so you don't have to worry about that necessarily unless you want it. On the left side are all the reports you can run, where you can send invitations to your students. So here's a list of all of the people. I want to invite them to activate their membership. There's a way for them to do this in the system. And really that's kind of the overview of how the tools work. I do want to show you this help button. So on every page, you probably saw this green help button. When you open that, it's going to open our solutions page that have tutorials and videos on every section. So all of the things I've talked about, if you get stuck, you can go in and open a document and figure out how to create obligations or whatever the thing you would be stuck in. We have great training documents and tutorials in here. If you get stuck beyond that, we have daily an 800 number that you can call and reach folks person to person. If it's in the middle of the night and you're doing work like lots of teachers do, you have the ability to open a support ticket if you can't find the answer, and our team will get back to you the next morning. I do want to let you know that we have an active Facebook page, and we also have a private users Facebook group. So all of our users and that are both subscribers and in trial users have the ability to become users of our Facebook group. We're starting to see a lot of activity in that group where people are answering and sharing best practices with one another. I also want to show you on our homepage. So this is the website. At the very bottom of our homepage, you will see a YouTube channel. So I mentioned that we keep track of all of our webinars and training materials. There's a bunch of videos in here. Here's where you can like our Facebook page. The other thing I want to show you, and I don't know that it will do it now because I logged out, is we actually have a new, what we call our QuTime bot. And I'm going to just open a new tab and you'll see what happens. If you ever wanted to schedule a call with one of our folks, you're going to see, hi there, what brings you to QuTime today. You can click on that and tell us what you're interested in, and it'll allow you to walk through steps of answering some questions and also scheduling some time with some of our QuTime team members where they can walk through and give you maybe a demo or a call to walk you through in a little bit more detail. All right, we are nearing the top of the hour and I need to get to questions and answers. So I'm going to jump back into my PowerPoint and kind of get to a wrap-up point for you guys. So I just showed you the website. We encourage you, if you haven't already, there's an orange button at the top here that is a start a free trial. You're no obligation. You can start a 30-day free trial. I know I have users in here now that are subscribers, but there's people in this webinar that are looking at this for the first time. You can enter your information, start a trial. We will help you get started with getting your data in. You can go to that bot on that homepage and schedule a time, and somebody can walk you through how we can get your data into your trial, and you can use it as if it's yours. I would encourage you to do that. It's a great way to take a test drive. The other thing is that we're asked about pricing. So here is the pricing page from our website. The basic subscription is $99 per year. This is limited to one ensemble. So what we are finding is groups that are maybe community groups, a band, orchestra, choir, or a small school, this works for them. Once you get beyond more than one ensemble, you need to move to the standard subscription, which is $299 a year. You can have as many ensembles in there. You can have as many colleagues and teachers and helpers that might be booster officers as admins in there for $299 a year. Once more than one subscription in a school district, so that could be a band, orchestra, and choir in the high school. It could be a high school and a middle school. It could be two high schools in the same district. Once more than one subscription is purchased from a district, both prices drop to $199 each. And in larger districts, when you get beyond 5 licenses, that price continues to come down. We just quoted some districts that are 100+ licenses, and that price came down significantly, almost by half for that. So that's the pricing side of things. And then we are now to questions and answers. So I'm going to try to get to as many of these as I possibly can before we run out of time. I'll stay if I need to answer some more, but you have info@cuttime.net. You can send us an email if that doesn't get answered. Anything that's been asked and hasn't been answered, you'll get a response from our teammates to deliver. Our 800 number is here. Feel free at any time to talk to our team. They would be more than happy to answer those questions. So let's get to some questions. Let me get to the top of my questions here. All right, how do you bring over balances, either positive or negative balances from previous years? So we can actually, our team can help you if you're coming out from another program and you're bringing it into here, we can get starting balances in there through an import. That's really the easiest way to bring over balances from the previous years, is that we would import that data for you and get you started afresh. That's the best answer I have for getting that started. Can I pre-schedule events and invitations to be sent out at a later time? That's a great question. So that's a calendar functionality. You can create the events at any time. We are working, one of our upgrades that's coming out is actually a schedule tool that will allow you to schedule emails and invitations to be sent out and reminders. That's probably a month or two away from rolling live. If you are a subscriber, you know this already, but we have updated this program almost on a weekly basis. So in the last year, there have been a ton of updates. We have a 6-month roadmap of things that are already in development, and then a whole bunch of things beyond that. So what the tool looks like 6 months from now will continue to evolve based off of the input like this that we're receiving, but definitely that scheduler is part of what we have planned. Next question is, if you have a bunch of parents sign up independently from their student, let me see if I'm reading this right. If I have a bunch of parents sign up independently from their students, is there a way to see which parent profiles are linked and which are not? So this entire parent portal that I kind of gave you a snapshot of, when we launch that, it is going to become way easier. Up until now, there's been a little bit of a challenge with linking parents to students, and depending on who registered first, this new parent portal will smooth out a lot of those things. We're actually going to do a webinar on the parent portal specific next month. Watch for an invitation. We'll be able to go into a lot more detail and show you how that works. But the answer is today, not so easy, but in the next couple of weeks, this will become very easy for you. We are now at the top of the hour. I think I've gotten to most of the questions. Again, if we didn't, we will circle back with you and answer those questions and reach out. Again, feel free to reach out to our folks either via email, phone number or go to the web and start a conversation with our Cut Time bot. We would love to engage you. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper and do a one-on-one session, we are happy to do that. I did the wrong button again. My apologies. So we've come to the end. From all of us at Cut Time, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. Be watching for future webinars, and we hope this has been helpful. We look forward to seeing you in the tool in the very near future. Have a great day.